Officer Rachel Hayes had seen her fair share of criminals. She'd locked up killers, drug lords, and thieves. None of them ever got to her. But when she cuffed 19-year-old Dante Cruz on a rainy street corner, something about him made her pause. He didn't fight, didn't curse, just stared at her like he knew her better than she knew herself. His eyes were sharp, intelligent, dangerous. His dark hoodie clung to his frame, soaked from the storm. And as she led him to the back of her cruiser, he whispered just one thing. "You remember my brother?" Rachel stiffened. "What?" Dante smirked. "You were there the night he died." Her heart skipped a beat. That case was years old, buried in cold files and forgotten reports. She never talked about it. Never even told anyone what really happened that night. So how did this kid know? She pushed the thought aside. He was trying to get under her skin, that's what criminals did. But as they drove to the station, she caught glimpses of him in the rearview mirror. Calm, confident, like he wasn't being taken in for murder. Like he was walking into something he already planned. And that scared her more than anything. By the time they reached the precinct, Dante hadn't said another word. But Rachel could feel it. The air between them had changed. This wasn't just another arrest. This was something else. Something darker. And she had no idea just how deep the truth would pull her in. The interrogation room was cold and silent, lit by a single overhead light. Dante sat across from Rachel, his wrists cuffed to the table, eyes locked on hers like he was waiting for her to speak first. She didn't disappoint. "Why'd you do it?" she asked, voice firm. Dante tilted his head slightly, as if considering whether to answer. Then he smiled, slow, controlled. "I didn't do it alone," he said. Rachel raised an eyebrow. "That's not what the witness reports say." He leaned forward. "Because they only saw half the story." Rachel stared at him, unblinking. "Who else was there?" Dante's smile faded. He looked her straight in the eye and said one name that made her blood run cold. Rachel froze. It was a name she hadn't heard in years. One she had hoped to forget forever. Her mentor, her former partner, the man who taught her everything she knew about the job. And now, supposedly, the man who helped kill an innocent man. "You're lying," she said, sharper than she meant to. Dante shrugged. "You don't believe me? Then why are you shaking?" Rachel glanced down at her hands. He was right. They were trembling. She cleared her throat and tried again. "Tell me what really happened." Dante leaned back in his chair, eyes never leaving hers. "I'll tell you everything," he said. "But only if you promise to hear me out. No interruptions. No assumptions." Rachel hesitated. This wasn't how interrogations worked. She was supposed to be in control. But something about this kid, about the way he spoke, the way he watched her, made her feel like she was the one being questioned. Finally, she nodded. Dante took a slow breath. "It started with your mentor," he said quietly. "The night my brother died." Rachel's stomach twisted. She wanted to stop him, to shut it all out. But somehow, she couldn't look away. Rachel sat motionless, the silence between them stretching longer than she intended. Then Dante spoke again, softer this time, like he was choosing each word carefully. "You were there," he said, "the night my brother died." Rachel's breath caught in her throat. She remembered that night all too well. She had been a rookie cop, barely out of training, still trying to prove herself. She responded to a call about a fight near an alley behind a closed gas station. When she arrived, she saw two men arguing. One of them pulled something from his jacket. A flash, a bang, and then nothing. By the time backup arrived, one man was dead. The other was gone. She never found the killer. And worse, she never told anyone what she truly saw. Because she had hesitated. Just for a second. And in that second, she failed to stop a life from being taken. Dante watched her face closely. "You stood there," he whispered. "You saw it happen." Rachel swallowed hard. "I didn't know who he was." Dante's jaw tightened. "His name was Mateo Cruz. My brother." The name hit her like a punch to the gut. She had read the report after the fact. The victim's family was never found. The case went cold. No suspects. No witnesses. Just another unsolved murder in a city full of them. But now, staring at Dante, she realized something else. He wasn't just here by chance. This wasn't some random arrest. It was fate, or revenge. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. Dante leaned forward, eyes burning with something deeper than anger. "Because you let my brother die," he said. "And now I'm here to make sure you never forget it." Rachel felt a chill crawl up her spine. She wanted to argue, to tell him she did everything she could, that she was just a rookie, that she had carried that guilt every day since. But none of that would change what happened. And judging by the way Dante looked at her, he knew that. "I don't care how long it takes," he said, voice low and steady. "You're going to pay for what you did." Rachel met his gaze, and for the first time in years, she felt afraid, not of the badge, not of the law, but of the boy sitting across from her. Because he wasn't just a criminal. He was a ghost from her past. One who hadn't come to haunt her. He had come for justice. In the days that followed, Rachel found herself thinking about Dante more than she should have. She told herself it was just curiosity, a need to understand why he had targeted her. But deep down, something else pulled at her. He knew things no one else did. About the case. About her. And worse, he made her question everything she thought she knew. Against protocol, she visited him in jail. Dante looked up as she entered the small room, a slow smirk forming on his lips. "I didn't think you'd come back," he said. Rachel sat across from him without a word. The steel table between them felt like nothing compared to the invisible wall separating them. Cop and criminal, past and present, guilt and accusation. Still, she spoke first. "Tell me everything," she said quietly. "From the beginning." Dante studied her for a long moment before leaning forward. "You want the truth?" he asked. "Then let's start with this. My brother wasn't just some gang kid who got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "Then who was he?" Dante's voice dropped low. "He was trying to get out," he said. "Out of the life. Out of the streets. He had proof, something big. Something that could have taken down people way more powerful than us." Rachel frowned. "What kind of proof?" Dante shook his head. "I don't know all the details. But I know one thing: your mentor knew about it. And he didn't stop what happened that night." Rachel's stomach twisted. She wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong. But the doubt crept in slow and cold. She changed the subject. "Why are you telling me this now?" Dante leaned closer, eyes locked onto hers. "Because I see something in you," he said. "You carry guilt like it's part of you, like it defines you." Rachel stiffened. "And I'm not like the others," he continued. "I'm not just another name on your arrest list. You feel me." Rachel swallowed hard. She hated how right he was. There was something different about him. Not just the way he spoke, but the way he watched her, like he saw through every layer she had built over the years. She stood up abruptly. "This is an investigation," she said. "Not a therapy session." Dante chuckled softly. "Sure it is." Rachel turned to leave, but his next words stopped her in her tracks. "You're not the only one haunted by that night," he said. "I see it in your eyes. You want answers too." Rachel didn't turn around. But she didn't walk away either. Because he was right. She did want answers. More than anything. And for reasons she couldn't explain. She was starting to believe Dante might be the only one who had them. Rachel couldn't stop thinking about Dante's words. "You want answers too." She told herself she was just doing her job. Digging into his past, verifying his story. But the deeper she went, the more tangled everything became. Late that night, she sat at her desk in the precinct, flipping through old case files on her computer. The murder of Mateo Cruz. Cold. Unsolved. But something wasn't right. She pulled up the original report and compared it to the witness statements. The timeline didn't match. Some names had been redacted. Others were missing entirely. She tried accessing archived footage from nearby security cameras. Nothing. All deleted. Frustrated, she leaned back in her chair. This wasn't just a forgotten case. It was buried. And someone wanted it to stay that way. The next day, Rachel paid a visit to Detective Marcus Lee, her longtime partner and one of the few people she trusted. She handed him the file. "Run this again," she said. "Something's off." Marcus frowned as he flipped through the pages. "This is an old case," he muttered. "Why are you chasing ghosts?" Rachel crossed her arms. "Because I think we got it wrong." Marcus hesitated, then gave her a look she didn't like, the kind that meant he knew something he wasn't saying. "You should drop it," he said finally. Rachel narrowed her eyes. "Why?" He sighed. "Because some things are better left alone." That was all the confirmation she needed. There was something here, something big. Later that week, she visited Officer James Holloway, her former mentor, now retired. She found him at his small house on the outskirts of town, drinking coffee on the porch like life had never touched him. "I heard you've been asking questions," he said before she could speak. Rachel took a seat across from him. "I need to know what really happened the night Mateo Cruz died," she said. Holloway didn't flinch, just sipped his coffee. "It was a gang hit," he said. "Random violence. No leads. You know how it goes." Rachel leaned forward. "But Dante says otherwise." Holloway's jaw tightened. "Dante's not telling the truth," he said. "He's trying to get under your skin." Rachel studied him carefully. "Then why are there gaps in the report?" she asked. "Why are key witnesses missing? Why did you never follow up on any leads?" Holloway set his cup down slowly. "Because I was told not to," he admitted. Rachel's heart pounded. "By who?" Holloway looked at her, sadness in his eyes. "The chief," he said quietly. "Back then, he was just a rising star in the department. He made it clear, let it go. So I did." Rachel stood up, anger bubbling beneath her calm exterior. "And now?" she asked. "Now that I'm digging, do I have a target on my back too?" Holloway met her gaze. "If you keep going," he warned, "you're going to wish you hadn't." Rachel swallowed hard. She had spent years believing she failed Mateo Cruz. But now, she realized something worse. She hadn't just failed him. She had been used. And someone powerful had made sure the truth stayed hidden. She turned and walked away, mind racing. If Holloway was afraid, if the chief had buried the case, what else was being hidden? And who had killed Mateo Cruz? As she reached her car, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You're close, but you're not safe. Meet me tonight. Alone." No name, no details. Just one word at the end. Dante. Rachel stared at the screen. She should have ignored it. She should have reported it. But instead, she got in her car and drove, because for the first time in years, she was close to the truth. And she wasn't backing down now. Rachel arrived at the meeting spot, an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The message had been clear: alone. She parked a block away and approached cautiously, hand resting near her holster. Inside, the air was thick with dust and silence. Then she saw him. Dante stood near a broken window, arms crossed, watching her like he knew she'd come. "You came," he said, voice calm. Rachel didn't move closer. "You're lucky I didn't bring backup." Dante smirked. "You wouldn't have." Rachel narrowed her eyes. "Why?" Dante took a slow step forward. "Because you know something's wrong, and you don't trust anyone enough to ask for help." Rachel's jaw tightened. He was right again. She glanced around. "How do I know this isn't a setup?" Dante raised his hands slightly. "You don't. But here I am. No weapons. No tricks." Rachel studied him carefully. Then she spoke. "I talked to Holloway," she said. "He admitted the case was buried. The chief ordered it." Dante nodded slowly. "I figured as much." Rachel stepped closer. "Tell me what you know." Dante hesitated, then reached into his jacket. Rachel's hand flew to her gun. "Whoa," Dante said, holding up a small USB drive. "It's not a weapon." Rachel eyed it warily. "What is it?" "A piece of the puzzle," he said. "Proof that your mentor wasn't just protecting the city. He was protecting someone powerful." Rachel took the drive but didn't lower her guard. "There's more," Dante added. But you need to trust me. Rachel let out a dry laugh. Trust you? You're a criminal. Dante's expression darkened. I'm a survivor. He moved closer, lowering his voice. My brother found something, he said. Something big. He was trying to expose a drug ring running through the city, one protected by people in uniform. Rachel frowned. Cops. Dante nodded. Your mentor included. Rachel felt a chill crawl up her spine. That night, Dante continued, Matteo wasn't just killed. He was silenced. Rachel swallowed hard. Why tell me all this? She asked. Dante looked at her like the answer was obvious. Because you were there, he said. And because you still care. Rachel wanted to deny it. She wanted to walk away, pretend this wasn't her fight. But deep down, she knew better. This wasn't just about Matteo anymore. It was about justice, about truth, about the system she had sworn to protect, now rotting from the inside. She looked at the USB drive in her hand. What else do you have? She asked quietly. Dante gave a small, knowing smile. Enough to bring them down, he said. If you're ready to listen. Rachel stared at him for a long moment. Then she slipped the drive into her pocket. I'm listening, she said. Dante nodded. Good, he said. Because we don't have much time. Just then, a noise echoed from outside footsteps. Rachel turned sharply, reaching for her gun. Dante grabbed her wrist gently. They're watching us, he whispered. We need to go. Rachel hesitated only a second before nodding. She didn't know if she could fully trust him. But for now, she had no choice, because someone knew they were digging, and they weren't going to stay quiet forever. Rachel and Dante barely made it out of the warehouse before headlights cut through the darkness. A black SUV pulled up fast, tires screeching to a stop just meters away. Dante grabbed Rachel's arm. We need to go now. Rachel hesitated only a second before pulling him behind a stack of rusted shipping containers. They crouched low as two men stepped out of the SUV, dressed in plain clothes, but the way they carried themselves told her everything. Not civilians, cops, or worse. One of them pulled out a radio. She's on to us, he muttered into it. She met with Cruz. Rachel's breath caught. They knew. Someone on the inside had been watching her all along. Dante whispered, We can't let them report back. Rachel didn't respond. Her mind raced. Who else was involved? How deep did this go? And most importantly, could she trust Dante enough to find out? Before she could answer her own question, Dante moved. He slipped around the side of the warehouse, silent as a shadow. Rachel followed, heart pounding. The two men were still talking when Dante struck, quick and quiet. One punch to the jaw, then a hard shove that sent the first man crumpling to the ground. The second turned too late. Dante tackled him, wrestling for the radio. Rachel stepped forward, gun drawn. Stop! She barked. Both men froze. Dante held the radio tightly, breathing hard. Rachel aimed at the standing officer. Who sent you? She demanded. The man didn't speak. She stepped closer. I'm giving you one chance. Still nothing. Dante yanked the officer's badge from his belt. Rachel's stomach dropped. It was real. This wasn't some random thug. This was Detective Marcus Lee, her partner, her friend, her traitor. Rachel stared at him, disbelief warring with betrayal. You're working with them? She asked, voice shaking. Marcus looked at her, not with guilt, but with regret. I didn't have a choice, he said quietly. Rachel shook her head. You always have a choice. Marcus exhaled slowly. You don't understand. This isn't just about Matteo Cruz. It's bigger than you think. Rachel clenched her jaw. Then explain it to me. Marcus glanced at Dante, then back at her. They'll kill us both if we talk, he said. You don't know what they're capable of. Dante tightened his grip on the radio. Then help us take them down. Marcus hesitated. Rachel stepped closer. You owe me the truth. For a long moment, Marcus said nothing. Then he spoke quietly, carefully. There's a network, he said. Cops, politicians, even judges. All tied to the same thing. protecting the city's biggest drug ring. Rachel's pulse pounded. And the chief? She asked. Marcus nodded. At the top. Rachel felt like the ground had shifted beneath her. Everything she believed, every oath she swore, felt like a lie. She swallowed hard. Who else is involved? She asked. Marcus hesitated again. Dante stepped forward. Tell her, or I swear, I'll make sure everyone knows what you are. Marcus finally met Rachel's eyes. There's a list, he admitted. Names, evidence, everything you need. Rachel's hands trembled slightly. Where is it? Marcus looked at her, almost sadly. In my locker, he said. At the precinct. Rachel's stomach twisted. That meant going back. Walking straight into the lion's den. But she didn't have a choice. If she wanted the full truth, she had to face the people who had lied to her for years, including the ones she thought she could trust the most. She holstered her gun. Let's go, she said. Dante gave her a surprised look. You sure? Rachel nodded. If we're doing this, she said, voice firm. We're doing it all the way. Marcus sighed. You have no idea what you're walking into. Rachel met his gaze. Then show me. And with that, the three of them disappeared into the night. One cop, one criminal, one traitor, all chasing the same truth, no matter the cost. The precinct was quiet when they arrived, too quiet. Rachel led the way through the back entrance, heart pounding with every step. Dante stayed close behind her, and Marcus followed without a word. They moved like ghosts through the dimly lit halls, past empty desks and flickering lights. Rachel's old locker stood at the far end of the room. She approached it slowly, fingers hovering over the lock. Then she turned to Marcus. You swear it's in here? Marcus nodded. Everything. Rachel exhaled and opened it. Inside was a small black notebook and a sealed envelope. She picked them up carefully, flipping through the pages. Names, dates, transactions, photos, proof. Enough to bring down half the department. Her hands trembled as she closed the book. Dante leaned in. Is it enough? Rachel swallowed hard. More than I expected. Before she could say more, the sound of footsteps echoed from the hallway. Heavy. Fast. Rachel snapped the locker shut. They know we're here, Marcus whispered. Dante grabbed her arm. We need to go. Now. But Rachel didn't move. She looked at the notebook in her hands. This was it. The truth. And if she walked out now, there was no turning back. Rachel, Dante said urgently. Come on. She met his eyes. I can't just run, she said. I have to expose this. Dante shook his head. You do that, and you'll be dead before sunrise. Rachel glanced at Marcus. What happens if I turn this in anonymously? She asked. Marcus hesitated. They'll trace it back to you, and they won't stop until you're gone. Rachel's stomach twisted. Dante stepped closer. There's another way. Rachel frowned. What are you talking about? Dante took a breath. Help me disappear. Tonight. Rachel blinked. What? He held her gaze. If I vanish, they'll think the evidence died with me. They'll relax. Lower their guard. Rachel shook her head. That doesn't help us expose them. Dante smiled slightly. It gives you time. Time to leak everything safely. Time to make sure they can't come after you. Rachel stared at him. You want me to help you escape? Dante nodded. I'm giving you a chance to take them down without putting yourself in the crosshairs. Rachel looked between him and Marcus. This wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about survival. She took a slow breath. And what about you? She asked. You disappear, and then what? Dante shrugged. I disappear, but not forever. Rachel raised an eyebrow. Dante smirked. I'll be watching, waiting, and when the time's right, I'll help you finish this. Rachel's pulse pounded. This was insane. She was a cop, not a fugitive helper. But deep down, she knew he was right. If she tried to expose everything now, she wouldn't live long enough to see it happen. She looked at the notebook again, then at Dante. You're serious about this? She whispered. Dante nodded. Dead serious. Rachel took a shaky breath. She had spent years trying to fix things from the inside. Maybe it was time to break the rules. Just once. She looked at Marcus. "I need your help," she said. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. "Whatever you need." Rachel turned back to Dante. "There's a transport van leaving tonight," she said. "Prison transfer. You're on it." Dante raised an eyebrow. "How are you going to pull that off?" Rachel gave a small, determined smile. "I'm a cop," she said. "I make the rules." Dante studied her for a moment. Then he grinned. "I knew you'd choose me." Rachel narrowed her eyes. "Don't flatter yourself. This is about justice." Dante chuckled. "Sure it is." Rachel ignored him and started moving. They had one shot at this. One chance to rewrite the story. And bring down the people who thought they were untouchable. The plan was simple, but dangerous. Rachel had one shot to pull it off, and if she failed, both she and Dante would be labeled as traitors. Or worse, dead. It started with a call. She dialed the precinct from an untraceable burner phone. "This is Officer Hayes," she said into the receiver. "I need full clearance for tonight's transport van. Security protocol override." There was a pause on the other end. "Officer Hayes, that kind of access requires approval from—" "I have it," Rachel interrupted. "From the chief himself. You want me to forward you the email?" A long silence. Then, finally, "Clearance granted." Rachel hung up. Dante raised an eyebrow. "That easy?" Rachel smirked. "They still think I'm one of them." Marcus stood nearby, arms crossed, watching them carefully. "You realize this ends your career, right?" he asked. Rachel met his gaze without hesitation. "If justice costs me my badge," she said, "then so be it." By midnight, they were in position. The prison transport van rolled out as scheduled. Its lights dimmed, tires crunching against the pavement. Inside, guards sat at the front. Two officers who had no idea what was about to happen. And in the back, Dante and Rachel. She crouched beside him, heart pounding. "We do this fast," she whispered. "No mistakes." Dante nodded. "You sure you're ready for this?" Rachel looked at him. "No," she admitted. "But I don't have a choice." She pulled out a small device, a signal jammer. It would block any GPS tracking or emergency pings from the van. Marcus was already outside, waiting for the moment to strike. Rachel gave him the signal. He moved. As the van passed through a dark stretch of road, Marcus stepped onto the street with a flashing light, mimicking a traffic stop. The driver slowed. Rachel tensed. This was it. The van came to a stop. One guard opened the side door. Marcus flashed his badge. "Routine inspection." The guard frowned. "At this hour?" Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he moved fast, slamming the guard's head against the metal frame. The second officer barely had time to react before Dante lunged from behind, knocking him unconscious. Rachel followed. In seconds, the guards were down. Dante grabbed one of their uniforms, just enough to blend in if needed. Rachel pulled out a set of cuffs and locked the real guards inside the van. Then she turned to Dante. "You better be worth this," she muttered. Dante smirked. "I am." Rachel hesitated, then handed him a burner phone. "If you survive this," she said, "you call me." Dante took the phone. "And if I don't?" he asked. Rachel stared at him. "Then I finish this alone." Dante studied her face, searching for something. Then he stepped closer. For the first time, his voice softened. "You don't have to come with me," he said. "You can walk away. No one will know." Rachel shook her head. "They'll never stop hunting me now," she said. "Not after this." Dante gave a slow nod. Rachel turned to Marcus, who stood by the roadside. "You good?" she asked. Marcus sighed. "I've made peace with the fact I'm going to hell for this." Rachel smirked. "Then let's make sure we take some company with us." Marcus chuckled dryly. "You always did go big." Rachel glanced at Dante one last time. Then she spoke the words that changed everything. "Go." Dante didn't look back. He disappeared into the night. Rachel watched him go, stomach twisting. She had just helped a criminal vanish. And there was no turning back. Back at the precinct, Rachel returned alone. She walked in like nothing had happened. Her captain approached. "Transport went smoothly?" Rachel nodded. "Just fine." The captain gave a grunt of approval and walked away. Rachel exhaled slowly. It worked. For now. But deep down, she knew this wasn't over. It had only just begun. Because tomorrow, everyone would wake up thinking Dante Cruz was gone, locked away forever. But Rachel knew the truth. And soon, the world would too. Weeks passed. To the world, Dante Cruz was gone. The department reported that he had died in a prison transfer accident. A staged fire, false records, and a body swapped from another inmate's file. No one questioned it. Not the press. Not the public. Not even the chief. Rachel played her part perfectly. She showed up to work like nothing had changed. She filed the reports. She gave statements. She even attended a short memorial for the fallen officer who had supposedly been caught in the fire. But deep down, she knew the truth. Dante was alive. And so was the fight. In secret, they stayed connected through burner phones and encrypted messages. He sent her pieces of what he found. Names, locations, hidden transactions. Proof. Enough to bring down the entire system. One night, Rachel received a message. "It's time." She didn't hesitate. That same night, she uploaded everything to an anonymous tip portal known for exposing corruption. Photos, names, audio recordings, financial records, every dirty cop, every protected drug deal, every lie buried beneath badges and authority. By morning, the city exploded. Headlines screamed across every screen. Mass corruption scandal rocks police department. Chief resigns after secret files expose crime network. Officer leaks evidence tying high-ranking cops to gang activity. Chaos followed. Detective Marcus Lee was suspended pending investigation. Several officers were arrested within hours. The chief resigned before dawn. Rachel watched it all unfold from a small apartment outside the city. She hadn't returned to work. She never would. They knew who leaked the files. Even if they couldn't prove it, they knew. And now she was on the run too. She stood at the window as the sun rose over the skyline. A knock came at the door. She turned slowly, hand near her gun. Then the door opened. Dante walked in, still wearing his usual smirk. "You did it," he said quietly. Rachel exhaled. "We did." Dante stepped inside, looking around the place. "You good?" he asked. Rachel nodded. "I will be." There was a pause. Then Dante handed her a file. "I kept digging," he said. "There's more out there." Rachel took it carefully. More names. More secrets. More justice waiting to be served. She looked at him. "We're not done," she whispered. Dante grinned. "Never said we were." Rachel closed the file and met his eyes. For years, she had believed in the badge. Now, she believed in something else. Something bigger. Truth. Justice. Freedom. And maybe, just maybe, a future where she and Dante weren't fugitives, but heroes. Justice doesn't always wear a badge. Sometimes, the truth hides in the shadows, waiting for someone brave enough to find it. This is the story of a cop who broke every rule to protect the only man who told her the truth. Their bond defied the law and changed everything, because sometimes the greatest fight isn't on the streets. It's inside the system, and sometimes the only way to bring down a lie is to become one yourself.